Animal Crossing KK Slider. Published on my website, accordionsprout.com, 19th of September, 2023. Before I begin, I know KK Slider is a rock star now and world famous, but when I played the original Animal Crossing GameCube game back in 2002, he was just a guitar-stringing dog singing songs by the train station on Saturday nights, often to a crowd of just one person. I was that person. And he rocked, dude. For those who've never played Animal Crossing, KK Slider is one of a number of recurring characters throughout the franchise since the original game was released in 2002. He's a dog with white fur, possibly a Labrador, but his breed is never established, and visits town every Saturday night, usually sometime after 7 p.m. As an element of the game, KK Slider is designed to give the player songs that can then be played on any of the musical equipment I acquire in the game, either at Nook's Cranny, the local town shop, or else via trade with some of the local animals who populate town. The only way to get the song, though, is to ask KK Slider to play a song. And buddy, this dog has tunes for days. The original Animal Crossing game featured around, that's my cat again, featuring around 55 songs. To put it in perspective, Animal Crossing New Horizons, the latest game in the series available on Nintendo Switch, contains 107 songs. I have, as a side note, never gotten all of KK Slider's records in any version of the game I've played. The first time I ever encountered KK Slider was the first time I ever played the original game. I received Animal Crossing as a Christmas present from my grandmother. My family and I were visiting Pasadena, where she lived, and celebrating a pre-Christmas event since my family usually preferred to celebrate Christmas alone. Mom, dad, sister, me, and nobody else. I had brought some of my Nintendo Power magazines with me, along with my GameCube, because, come on man, I can't go outside and my grandparents' main TV still had knobs on it. And when my grandmother asked me what I wanted for Christmas, there was no question. I showed her the advertisements for the game and explained, as any young teenage boy who could explain to a woman who never played a video game, how cool it was going to be. My grandmother nodded her head and listened, but it was my mother who went out with her to actually buy the game. Thanks again, Mom, you rock. The next day, I received a number of presents. None of them I can remember, if I'm being completely honest. And the last one was Animal Crossing. I thanked my grandmother and my mom and ran to the back bedroom, where the good TV was, and started the game. The screen went black, and I heard a guitar. A cone of yellow, cheap light illuminated a single figure, a white dog sitting on a wooden box and playing a light brown guitar with a splash of yellow ochre along the body. He strummed beneath the light for a few bars. He couldn't see me, or else he didn't care that I was watching him. I wondered briefly how long this would last when he looked up and said the words, "So, you've decided to move out, get your own place, see the world? That's groovy." Watching this opening again years after I'd played the original game, and months since I'd played New Horizons, mostly because I'm terrified Brewster won't like me anymore, there's an expected rush of nostalgia. The emotion that hit me was happiness, remembering how psyched I was playing that game and discovering this new world that was unlike any video game I had played till that moment. I should clarify that life simulator games weren't my usual scene. Some of my later friends and family would regale me with their experiences playing games like The Sims, but I had usually stuck to platformers or real-time strategy games. I managed to find this opening clip on YouTube while researching for this essay so I could watch this scene again, and after I watched it, more than a few times, I realized how KK works in the game. KK Slider is, above all things, cool. He is the cool dude of video games, and he embodies better than most of the image of the solo artist. I'm going to interrupt this recording very briefly. I don't like the way I delivered that sentence, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it again. He's the cool dude of video games, and he embodies better than most the image of the solo artist. I like that version, or that reading of it, way better. Obviously, KK Slider's the cool dude of video games, and I am not. Anyway, continuing the essay. Mimicking the icon or cultural cliche of the lone wolf musician who travels from place to place with nothing but a guitar, Animal Crossing established KK Slider as one of the most important figures in the player's experience of the game. The reason for this is simple. Everybody loves music. KK was inspired directly from Kazumi Totaka, one of the leading sound designers for Nintendo who has worked on numerous games including Mario Paint, Luigi's Mansion, Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, and of course, Animal Crossing. Even the name KK Slider is derived from his nickname. In an article in NintendoLife from 2012, Kai Jackson provides a brief explanation. He's, KK Slider, based on music composer Kazumi Totaka. KK's Japanese Totakeke is a contraction of Totaka-ke, who has had a long and unique history with Nintendo. That was a direct quote from the article, and I guarantee you I butchered all of that Japanese, and I apologize profusely. As I have noted in several essays, I'm a white boy from East Texas. They didn't teach me any Chinese or Japanese growing up, so I'm working with what I've got. If you know the correct pronunciation, please feel free to mock me in the comments section below. Much like the 13-note song Totaka hides in just about all of the games he works on, KK Slider appears and disappears from the player just as quickly as he came, until he shows up again. Like I mentioned in the beginning, KK Slider from this point on can only be found in the game on Saturday evenings. When you first arrive in the village, there's a small wooden crate by the steps of the station that will forever remain unoccupied until Saturday night when the player first encounters him. I'd like to say the first time I saw him playing his guitar by the station, it was an accident. I'd like to say that because I honestly can't remember. I was probably playing the game in the late evening, just wandering around looking for bugs, as you do, when I passed by the station and saw the same white dog from before strumming his guitar. I approached KK. He offered to play me a song if I knew one I wanted to hear. Since I didn't, he played one of his original 55 and then gave me a copy at no charge. Like I said, KK Slider is one cool dude. He's also the character that introduced the core mechanic of the game. Right after KK talks about how nice living by your own will be, he says to the player, living on yourself? But living by yourself can be a real drag too. Still, if you got some really tight friends nearby, then you know it'll all work out. Yeah, man, friends are far out. Having KK Slider tell me that having friends is important and far out isn't just KK being the dude that he is. This message is also a well-crafted design. The gameplay of Animal Crossing is all about social interaction between the villager and other members of the town. The player is encouraged from the very opening of the game that in order to really enjoy the experience, they need friends. Animal Crossing then offers friends galore in the form of elephants, wolves, squirrels, frogs, rhinos, hippos, and eagles, all of whom are on their own unique adventure, buying houses, making friends, and decorating their homes with gyroids. I interrupt this recording for a note. My AC has been going the whole time during this recording. I don't know if there will be a dramatic effect now that it's off, but just if you notice a difference, that's what it is. I would love to have a private recording studio where I could just record these, but alas, I've got two awesome people on Patreon, and I get 50 cents a month. So, you want to help out with that? By all means, check out the Patreon link below. But anyway, where were we? All right, gyroids. Well, not really. KK Slider encourages social interaction immediately after I'm given a scene in which my character interacts with the blue cat named Rover, who needs a comeback, by the way. I didn't go into the full depth of this in my original essay, and I'm going to restart this paragraph in a second, but why is Rover not in the new games? Like, even just as a cameo, just have him pop in to, like, Brewster's Cafe. Just you know what? Justice for Rover, man. Or no, not even kitchen anything like. Just bring it back. It would be a nice addition to the game. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to start this paragraph over. My apologies. KK Slider encourages social interaction, and immediately after I'm given a scene in which my character interacts with the blue cat named Rover, who needs a comeback, by the way. This is the first real interaction the player will have with one of the numerous animals in the game, and this interaction will shape the physical aspect of the character. Whoever you are when you step off the train will be determined partly through the randomization of the engine, but also by the way you interact with Rover. Likewise, the way I play the game and, quote, succeed in it will largely depend on how well I interact with the other animal villagers. There isn't a way to win or beat Animal Crossing the way there is in a game like Batman Arkham Knight or Doom. I'm not working towards a long game end goal. The experience of Animal Crossing is waking up every day and playing the game. This is one of the harshest criticisms of Animal Crossing, usually from game bros who measure the artistry of a game by how many people you can kill in a limited amount of time, which can be fun, to be fair. And I know for this recording, I literally played Helldivers 2 all of 20 minutes ago. That game rules. There's nothing wrong with shooter games and shooting in video games, in my opinion. I will die on that hill. However, each player is going to appreciate games through the lens of their own aesthetic, and I'm not here to say whether Animal Crossing's gameplay is, quote, superior to any other game, because that kind of discourse is about as self-serving as it is self-parody. Stupid. That's what I meant to say. That kind of commentary is stupid. Moving on. Animal Crossing, from the first few seconds, is about experiencing other people and forming new relationships. KK Slider at first addresses the player as a purveyor of wisdom, but in retrospect, he was offering me, the player, his time. That's all anyone can and should respect and deserve in any kind of interpersonal relationship. It speaks to the design of the game that it is able so quickly to give the player a summation of the gameplay in just a few moments and carefully selected words. Almost 2 decades later, I bought a copy of Animal Crossing New Horizons, mostly so I could go on disgustingly cute digital dates with my girlfriend who has an Animal Crossing tattoo. And, as the game opened, I saw a familiar sight. The same white dog under the same bad light strumming his guitar. He offered me, once again, his time and a few choice words. Yeah, but take it from a cat that's been on the road. Being by your lonesome can grind on the soul. You gotta make friends along the way. Rambling this crazy world is Squaresville without some pals. There are literally millions of people around the planet who have played Animal Crossing and created their own memories, impressions, and thoughts about the structures of the game. Almost all of them are about the connections they have made with friends, whether they be villagers or other players. 20 years and several games later, a simple moment of a dog offering me his time and his advice lays a blueprint for how to play a fun game about making friends. KK Slider is a wonderful tool for players and designers to remember that teaching players about how to play a game is as much about inviting the opportunity and just giving something a few precious seconds of time. Joshua Jammer Smith, 19th of September, 2023. Howdy, I'm Jammer. So, first off, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I recognize this one was a little different because it's not an under 500-word essay, so it wasn't necessarily short. It's one of my longer form essays, but it's also one of the early ones I did for my website, so the length is not as great as some of the other ones. I honestly doubt this would tap or cap at 1,500 words, if that. So, it was long but not long, short but not short. Whatever the case, it was a nice little essay, and now it is done. And you listened to it, assuming you listened to the whole thing. And if you did, hey, thank you. Seriously, I mean it. I really do. Now let's go over the usual claptrap. You're watching this on YouTube, which sucks. Let's be real. Modern YouTube really sucks. But if you would like to help the channel, please like, share, and subscribe, all that claptrap. It helps me because it helps me get on the algorithm, or at least close to maybe being on the algorithm at some point. So please, again, like, share, and subscribe. It really does help a lot. Plus, it helps me because it makes me know, hey, somebody actually listened to this and they like what I'm doing here. So, could always use the ego boost. And then, of course, there's the most practical reality, which is if you would like to help the channel, I have a Patreon for this. It's literally just patreon.com/jammerdraws. You can find it in the description section below. It's only $1 a month because, hey, we're all trying to make it as best we can. I don't think asking for more than $1 is reasonable for what I'm really offering in terms of my Patreon. If you like what I'm doing, throw me a buck and I'll appreciate it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, let's talk about KK Slider and why the dude is just flipping rad and just awesome. I mean, he's KK Slider. What more do you want? Okay, but for real though, KK Slider is really interesting to me because of the way he is continually, not necessarily the face of Animal Crossing, but in a way he is, because literally every single Animal Crossing game, at least the main ones, I can't speak for the app game, and I never played the one that was released for the Wii or the Wii U, so I think that was City Folk. So I can't say for that one for sure, but whether it be the original Animal Crossing, whether it be New Leaf, Wild World, or New Horizons, the games always started with KK Slider just playing his guitar and talking to you about, hey, the way you make it through this life is not by being super rich or by achieving great things. It's by having friends and making social connections. And given the fact that Animal Crossing is, at its core, a life simulator game, this makes sense. And it's also a really good design structure. Because this is, in a sense, a cutscene. Because, I mean, the player is given the option to move through lines of dialogue, so there's some interaction there. But at the same time, this is still employing an NPC, non-playable character, for the purpose of just laying out the entire ethos of the game. The whole point of Animal Crossing is you are not achieving missions. You are not killing bad guys. You are not controlling some kind of vehicle, whether it be an automobile or a jet or anything like that. You are some dude, dudette, or dudes. Again, that's dudes with a Z for our gender-neutral folks. We respect gender-neutral folks on this channel, okay? Like my pansexual ass will die on that hill. You are seen. You are welcome here. Moving on. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you're welcome in this game, and you're able to create an identity in this game and a life in this game. But most importantly, your whole goal is to just talk to other characters. You talk to Tom Nook, you talk to the mayor, you talk to Copper, the police chief, you talk to Blathers, and, naturally you talk to KK, but then you also talk to the people in your immediate community, and you can do things from just like saying hi to them, offering them fruit, offering them furniture, running little errands for them. The whole game is about communication. And you start by listening to KK Slider talking about how important communication is. Like, structurally speaking, they've used a basic cutscene and an NPC to establish in the player's mind what the end goal of the game is before players even figure out what their character looks like. It's, at least in my opinion, a really well orchestrated design. One, because of the consistency they've employed with it, but then also, two, KK Slider never comes across as... Okay, there's characters in video games that I refer to often as the introductory NPC. I recently recorded my essay about Claptrap in the first Borderlands game and how his role in that original game was as an introductory NPC. He's there to just introduce the game, provide you with some basic mechanics, and then move you towards the first level, wherever that may be. KK Slider, in that sense, is very similar to Claptrap in terms of the design aspect. He's a non-playable character who's there to introduce what the core mechanic is, or what the main mechanic is, which, again, in Animal Crossing is communication. Which is actually... I don't know if it's ironic, per se. Actually, no, I think it is ironic that, like, the whole game is about communication and your character doesn't necessarily speak. At least in terms of the first game. Like, you can select dialogue options and stuff, but literally everybody else speaks. You know what? I was trying to be clever here and it failed miserably, but, that's on brand for me. Point is, KK Slider is an interesting introductory NPC because, again, he demonstrates really beautifully and effectively how an introductory NPC can and should work. And it's from his introduction that the rest of the game takes shape. I mean, in the later part of the game, KK's role will change because then at that point he is an NPC who's designed not necessarily to introduce you to the core mechanic of the game, but just to introduce you to another core aesthetic. Because again, when you're playing Animal Crossing, it's not just about catching fish. It's not just about growing flowers or talking to players. It's also about building a little life for yourself. And one of the ways people create moments for themselves or create, what am I trying to say? Just the way you live your life, one of the ways you do it is just listening to music. It's media, but it helps bring you into the mindfulness of the moment of where you're at, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. So, in that way, too, KK Slider is an interesting study in how an NPC can be employed for one initial purpose and then later be repurposed for another. Which honestly is not a bad idea for an essay. I'll have to come back to this at a later point. For this essay, I really just wanted to just observe how KK Slider is such a small element at first, but at the same time, he's employed really well in terms of the overall design to just introduce one mechanic that will be at the core of absolutely everything else. And now I think I'm beginning to repeat myself, and this is largely the reason why I write, because when I try to talk, I wind up just rambling about. So, where are we at? KK Slider rules. He is the dude of all dudes. He plays guitar like a damn madman, and I have always loved him from the very first moment I booted up my Nintendo GameCube in 2002. And when I booted up my Nintendo Switch in 2020, I think? No, it was actually 2021 by the time I think I actually started playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. KK was there again, and it was so cool seeing that same design mechanic again, working so well, so beautifully, and still being just a totally rockin' dude. I think I'll go ahead and call it a day there, but thank you again for listening. I tremendously appreciate it. Go play some video games.